So welcome you again. I would ask you to please take your seats. We are already behind schedule, and we have now a distinguished set of keynotes and a very interesting high-level panel discussion for you this morning. So, without any further delays, it's my great honor and pleasure to call on stage Professor Len Notaras, AO, outgoing chair of the EMT Strategic Advisory Group and executive director of the National Critical Care Trauma and Response Center, to deliver a keynote speech on milestones and momentum, reflecting on the journey and progress and possibilities for the EMT initiative.
Distinguished guests all, let me first commence by acknowledging our wonderful hosts, Abu Dhabi Health UAE. What a wonderful place to be having our sixth global meeting. I must confess, attending each of the global meetings except for Panama City, they've been wonderful, and I've enjoyed it and will continue to enjoy it, along with my wonderful partner here in sharing, Johanna. Johanna is bringing a wonderful set of skills to the role, and we will continue pursuing the EMT initiative. Thank you so much. I must start by not only acknowledging our wonderful hosts, but also acknowledging the Secretariat, which punches well beyond its weight. And we've got people like Flavio, like Camilla, a whole team of about 4 people who work extremely hard. Dr. Nadret, who is with us later today, I think, or possibly in the next day or so, and Mike Ryan's leadership. It is truly wonderful. But a couple of special messages that are unscripted here at the very beginning. And one of those messages is the schedule seems to have changed. The schedule seems to have changed today. And that is expecting the unexpected, which is what EMT is all about. We're around about an hour difference to where the keynotes and other speeches were going to be, but it doesn't detract from what we do, but rather it shows our ability to be able to move quickly, to be able to be agile and move and be able to cope with and adapt to things. Sincere thanks, as I said, to our gracious hosts, but I want to thank also all of our SAG members who are here today. Those people are the very sinew of what we do, and they have brought to me a wonderful inspirational thought. They help acknowledge where we are going, where we have been, and indeed what we are doing right now. And that was well articulated as well by Mike Ryan and indeed Dr. Tedros DG. Let me acknowledge the work that the SAG has done over time, and it has been my privilege to be part of it, and will continue to be in a different role, my privilege into the future. To open, let me reiterate, do no harm. Do no harm, which is incredibly important, as well as Dr. Tedros's mantra of good health for all and bringing an opportunity for all to be able to adapt to and respond to the events that challenge them in life. I'm immensely proud that Australia, and I have Australian colleagues here today, a number of Australian colleagues, as well as colleagues from our federal health department. I want to acknowledge that Australia has been a part of this since the very beginning. And looking across at my dear colleague Rick Brennan, who, unlike myself, hasn't aged a bit since the last time I saw him. He looks younger, but Rick has been an integral part to things. But if I go back a step or two, there are people here today that were part of the early nascence of what we have now, going back now to 2009, 2008, 2010. It's quite incredible that we've been on this journey, which has been a challenging journey at times, But by the same token, we have never lost faith. And again, looking at those other global meetings, whether it be Geneva, Panama City, whether it be Hong Kong, Bangkok, and wonderful Armenia last year, and here today in Abu Dhabi, it is amazing how far we've come. I'm very proud that my organisation, the National Critical Care and Trauma Response Centre, NCCTRC, has produced a number of key players in this space. Not the least to say a very wonderful colleague of mine, Ian Norton, who was taken away from me by one Rick Brennan. Rick came to me one day in, I think it was 2012 or 2013, and said to me, "Do you mind if I borrow Ian for a couple of weeks?" Which ended up 5 years. And that's quite remarkable that people like that made such a difference. Camilla was with us at one stage as well. We were a significant part of fashioning and developing the Blue Book. And I see I'm aware of the second iteration of the Blue Book, which is now available. And that is wonderful. It is wonderful. We have come so far. In the background there, you can see our deployable asset, which is much bigger now. This is ours in Australia at the National Critical Care and Trauma Response Centre, funded by the Australian government. Self-sufficiency. Because the very driving force, the fillip, for want of a better word, of the EMT movement was to look at disaster responses. Good people doing really wonderful things, or hoping to do wonderful things, but in a less than coordinated manner sometimes. So we've watched over the years, whether it was Haiti 2010, we responded as we were developing the OSMAT guidelines and the EMT guidelines to what was the Pakistan Assist 2 back in 2010 as well. And then our major response was to the Philippines, Tacloban and Cyclone or Typhoon Haiyan. Typhoon Haiyan saw us with 2 teams, an Alpha and a Bravo team, from right across Australia. And that was wonderful to pull those teams together and be able to maintain a database of Osmateers. And I say that with the greatest respect to what I'm seeing right across the world, emulated, whether it be the subcontinents or whether it be in the Western Pacific now. And the pride I have with what is happening in the Western Pacific is immense, immense. Fiji, Samoa, Vanuatu, just to name a few of them. Also our colleagues in Indonesia, Timor and other parts, the Philippines, wonderful. And it's a privilege to be able to work with those. And today I see other colleagues here from Barbados, David Clark and a couple of his team as well. It is just so wonderful to see the EMT initiative gain the momentum over time that it has. Critical to this is partnerships. Partnerships are most invaluable to what we do, whether it be government and private sector or whether it be non-government agencies. We have worked closely with a number of government and non-government agencies, as well as defence, and as well as other groups. And I can see today we have Glenn Keys here from Aspen and a number of other people who I call out for the reason that the work is not about one person, but it's about a number of people. A number of people first doing no harm, working in an environment of safety and quality, of consistency, of communication, and also of compassion. We are not to go into a disaster zone saying, oh, we can bring you whatever you need, just on that fancy that we're going to help. We have to go in to make a difference, and that difference has to be significant, and it has to be long-term. We do not leave a legacy into the future. We have to round it off and ensure that that community, that vulnerable community, is actually looked after into the future, not just today, not just tomorrow, but into the future. In a world, as I said in Yerevan, and I've said it many, many times before, in a world, and indeed Mike has referred to it as well, in a world of disasters, natural sudden onset events, events that might be natural Or conversely, they can be person-made. That's the world that we live in, a world of conflict, escalating conflict, a world of the sequelae of conflict, refugee movements, more and more vulnerable people. In a world of infectious disease and a world of sudden onset pandemics and so on, we seem to forget that there have been a lot of other things other than COVID-19 going on. And I recall our response to the measles outbreak in Samoa back in 2019, which was tragic, but it was good to be able to help our colleagues in Samoa. Then we moved to the all-encompassing climate change, and a lot will be said over the next couple of days in terms of climate change. And Abu Dhabi and the UAE have done so much to acknowledge the importance of ecological change. With climate change, and nobody knows it better than our colleagues in the Western Pacific. They really experience it. But not only in the Western Pacific, also right across the world right now. Spain, the heartbreaking, heart-wrenching effects of the floods in Spain over the last 10 days. Taiwan as well, with the typhoon coming in there and the deaths that occurred. So it is a changing world. It is a world of, in a sense, almost insurmountable challenge. But in this room today are people who give hope. People who give hope. And as I said, over the last, I've been with the program since the very beginning, and I am so proud of what has been achieved and what we'll continue to achieve. You, each of you, have made and will continue to make a difference. Do not drift from that ability to make a difference. A life saved is one more person that we have done a wonderful thing for. So enjoy the conference. Great to be here. I'm very proud of all of you being so able to expect the unexpected and be able to move with the changes that have occurred. But it's all good, and enjoy the next few days. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Len, if you can please come back to the stage. And if I can call Dr. Mike Ryan.
If I may, I know I'm not speaking, but if I may, the photograph looks different, and that's because the EMT initiative has aged me a little. I thought I'd say that.
So we have an acknowledgement from his leadership as SAG Chair, Professor Len Notaras, Executive Director of the NCCTRC, and Dr. Mike Ryan, Deputy Director General and Executive Director of the Emergencies Program, and Dr. Flavio Salio, EMT Network Leader, handing to Len a letter of acknowledgement from Director General Dr. Tedros. And we have also the traditional flag that is delivered to every team that undergoes the global classification program. We had all SAG members sign and write a letter and write a reminder and a message to Len for his great leadership and vision. Thank you, Len. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Len.
I just want to say, Len, you've been an inspiration to a generation of responders, a mentor to people like myself. And, you know, last week we lost many heroes in public health. People are retiring. Rick's retiring. You're not retiring yet, Len, but you've been you've been a giant in this movement, and someone who everybody speaks about with complete admiration. So thank you for dragging this here. Thank you, Rick, Brennan, for initiating this in WHO, Flavio and everyone for doing it. But it would not be here without you, sir. It would not exist as a movement, so thank you.